Hi, guten Abend an alle. Good evening, everyone. Mein Name ist Franziska Lienhardt. Ich bin Kuratorin hier am Museum Brandhorst und ich freue mich total, dass wir trotz Wetterwidrigkeiten so viel, was hier los ist, sich doch ein paar Menschen ins Museum Brandhorst verirrt haben. Und da wir heute internationale GästInnen haben, freue ich mich sehr, auch ins Englische zu switchen. So I'm very happy to welcome you all here to Museum Brandhorst and to an evening with filmmaker Želimir Žilnik and curator Can Sungu in cooperation with the FilmFest München. And it's so wonderful to have you here, Can and Želimir, and all of you as well. And tonight's program takes place in the context of Carrying, which is a exhibition, or rather a parcours, and it's about histories and stories that places carry, but also how narratives are carried forward through images, through media, and through monuments. And it takes place as part of a long standing cooperation with our premiumst partner, which is the FilmFest München, the Munich International Film Festival. And as always, it's a tremendous joy and honor, and after so many years, to host yet another wonderful collaboration with you. And FilmFest just opened on Saturday with a really incredible program, which is still in store for all of us through the end of this week. And I'm very delighted to introduce this evening together with Julia Weigel, who is the artistic director of FilmFest Munich. So please, Julia, welcome.
Well, I just wanted to say welcome on our end as well. And I wanted to say a big thank you to Franzi Lienhardt, the curator of the exhibition, but also, you know, one of the links to Filmfest München and Museum Brandhorst, just like Monika Bayer-Wermuth as well, and the entire team of Museum Brandhorst. It's like, you know, we always say like it's family, because it is really the extension of a film festival, and film festivals and museums are open art spaces, and it's always about dialogue. And we try to create this dialogue collaboratively and to extend this family with Can Sungu, the curator of this part and this collaboration this year. A big thank you to Can, a big applause. This is really something very special to us. And to have Želimir Žilnik here with us tonight is a pleasure, because he hasn't been back at Filmfest München for quite some time. So to have you here talk about your work is truly an honor to us as well. So very welcome to Munich, Želimir. So I would say enjoy this evening and watch films, but first of all, listen to everyone speak here tonight. I am very happy to welcome you on behalf of Filmfest München, and thanks again, Franzi.
Of course, thank you. Thank you. So as Julia already said, Can did a really fantastic program, which is called Inventories of a City, Munich Revisited, and it's screening across various cinemas in Munich, but also in the museum and outside the museum, actually. And it brings together cinematic perspectives that make visible Munich's plural but also layered histories, and across different times and from very different points of views. And the two short films tonight speak actually directly to that question from two very different places. So on the one hand, Želimir's INVENTUR METZSTRASSE 11, that was made in 1975 actually in an apartment building in Munich Heidhausen, and then Kevin Jerome Everson's Inventory, on the other hand, that was made on a military base in the United States in 2020. So two places and contexts that would hardly or could hardly be more different, and yet both show how place carries many different stories and histories, and often from very competing perspectives, and only some of which become visible on a closer look. So I think that is very important, and we are so grateful that Želimir is here, as Julia said, and also Sarita Matjevich, who's the partner and producer of Želimir, and of course also Can, that you are here, and that you all found your way to Munich as part of our cooperation. And maybe a brief note on tonight's structure. So we will begin with these two films, then followed by a conversation between Želimir Žilnik and Can Sungu. And then, of course, you always have the opportunity also ask questions afterwards. And for anyone who wants to go deeper in the Želimir Žilnik world, Želimir did many great short films in Munich in the 1970s. In exile, and we will screen them all at 9:30 tonight at the Half F Kino, which is actually just a few minutes away from here, so please come. And if tonight doesn't work, there's another chance on Sunday, so be most invited. And as you will have noticed, this evening is being interpreted in sign language, so a warm thank you also to Julia Hutter and Karina Hoffmann for your work this evening, and a heartfelt thank you to our wonderful team, as always, and to so many, wonderful team and teams, so by FilmFest München and Museum Brandhorst, and to so many people and institutions that made this evening possible. And we are especially moved, Želimir, that you have returned to Munich, as Julia said already, for this very special occasion, and to the very city where these films were made, actually, and actually 50 years ago, right? So that's also a long time. And a huge thank you again, Can, to you for making this possible, also with your program and your initiative. And maybe that's the point where I would just hand it over to you to also introduce the films again. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Francie and Julia, for your kind words, for the introduction. Munich is always a city that I really love to come back and hope to come back again. I keep it short, so don't worry. But there are a couple of things that I would like to tell about Želimir Žilnik's work, but also the two films that you're going to see today. Yes, it's great pleasure that we have these two films, Želimir Žilnik's iconic short film, Inventory, or with the German title INVENTUR, METZSTRASSE 11, alongside with the other short film, Inventory. This is a contemporary interpretation by the American artist and filmmaker Jerome Everson. But please allow me to introduce Želimir Žilnik a bit more, because Želimir Žilnik for more than 5 decades has been one of the most distinctive and uncompromising voices in European cinema, emerging from the Yugoslav black wave of the late 1960s, Černi film. His films have constantly challenged political and social conventions while remaining deeply attentive to the lives of ordinary people. So blending documentary and fiction in innovative ways, blending them actually all the time. He has explored themes such as migration, labor, social inequality, and the shifting realities of post-socialist Europe with remarkable empathy and formal attentiveness. So his films have been celebrated at major international festivals, and his work continues to inspire generations of filmmakers through its commitment to political engagement and cinematic experimentation. So, and I believe remarkably also Želimir continues to make films today, because his latest feature, 80 Plus, premiered at the Berlinale Forum earlier this year. So he's still an active filmmaker. So it's also for me, again, I'm honored to welcome you, Želimir Žilnik, and also his producer, Sarita Matjevich-Žilnik, who are with us today evening. So when Želimir Žilnik increasingly found himself unable to work in Yugoslavia and formerly Yugoslavia in the early 70s, he moved to Munich, where he lived in exile for some years. And during that period, he also became a frequent guest at Oberhausen Festival, but also here in Munich. And while living in Germany, he made a remarkable series of short, often spontaneously produced films in which, with documentary directness and dry humor, he observed the everyday life of migrant workers while sharply and ironically examining the social rituals, bureaucratic procedures, and cultural peculiarities of West German society. So these 7 films that you're also going to see in the next program today evening in HFF Kino at 9:30, all made during this period, 1973, 1975, here in West Germany, mostly in Munich. So please be sure that you book your tickets if you're not, because it is one of the rare chances to see all of the films in a program here in Munich all together. So the second film that we see today is Inventory, as I said, by Jerome Everson, May 2021. And the film is obviously inspired very much by Žilnik's Inventory. But in this film, Everson follows American soldiers stationed at the 14th Flying Training Wing at Columbus Air Force Base in Mississippi, as they reflect on how they came to military life. So Jerome Everson is also one of the most prolific and influential contemporary American filmmakers and artists, working across film, photography, and sculpture. He has created an extraordinary body of work that also closely observes the daily, everyday lives of labor and histories of Black communities in the United States. One thing is also important about Everson, that over the past 3 decades has made more than 100 films which have been screened at major international festivals, and as he's also still working as a professor at the University of Virginia. So we have today very important 2 filmmakers who are dealing with some similar topics in their work from different geographies, and I think they fit very much together, as also Everson was very much influenced by Želimir Žilnik's work. So after the screening, we will be here sitting, Želimir and me, next to each other. I have some questions, and we will know a bit more about the film and his time here in Munich, because later in the late screening, we will not have a Q&A, but a short introduction. So please also use the opportunity to raise your questions, because there will be possibility also today now after the screening. Thank you very much. For me, your film Inventory is something that I can watch all day in loop. I mean, the whole film is conceptualized as a loop, but I think it will work also all day long, for me at least. So, it is my very first time that I also now watch together with another reinterpretation of Inventory by here with Jerome Everson's Inventory, which I think they are coming very interestingly in dialogue. But before we dig into more the Inventory, I will try to understand a bit more, Želimir, go back to the 70s, the times when you decided to leave Yugoslavia, at least for a while, and came to West Germany, and also settled down in Munich for a while. What was your motivation? I mean, what was the reason why you left Yugoslavia at that time, and why particularly you decided then also to come to Munich at some point?
First of all, hello to everybody. Second, of course, those stories what we are going to tell you, they will be a bit old stories, but I will say only the truth. The truth is that actually Yugoslav cinematography was by end of 60s quite good developed, and we have had relatively young directors like Dušan Makavejev and others who have been not actually making the films on this way of socialistic realism, but like very interesting and creative and so on. And I was young in that time, but I was invited to be Makavejev assistant. In that time, Yugoslav film industry was quite strong because actually many Western countries, like for instance America, Germany, Italy, and well, they wanted to use actually our like old cities on the Adriatic Sea, especially Italians who have been making some spectacles about Roman Empire. About 5, 6 those spectacles have been made in Yugoslavia. So the studios have been helping, so the money was coming, and the whole atmosphere was quite relaxed. So then for instance, Americans, they made more than 20 Wild West stories also in our areas, because we have had those territories which are like the woods and so on and so on and so on. And we have also the people who would play extras. So that was the reason why actually our socialistic cinematography, which was somehow run by the politicians and so on, but it was quite open for communication. And in that situation, of course, we felt that we are having the support of those studios, because they needed to somehow develop the young generation. So myself, after being assistant with Macabeev, I was invited to start making short films, because in that time short films have been actually something also in Germany what was useful. Why? Because before the long films, always short film of 10 films, 10 minutes was screened, you see. So we felt that we are encouraged, and we start making these critical films.
But at some moment you were not able to continue working in Yugoslavia.
What happened? First of all, when I made my first films, they ran very well also on international festivals. So for maybe my second documentary films, I got Grand Prix in Oberhausen, what is a very big, award. And in studios, they said, Žilnik, if you are successful with these short films, let's make the long film, like about the students' demonstration and everything, what was happening in the whole world in '68, from America, from France, but also in Yugoslavia. So I made one long film, which was called Early Works, and it was controversial. But when it went on Berlinale, it won also Golden Bear, you see. So it was, my position was that on one side, the films are well received, especially abroad, but then some of our authors, the old ones, they have been very much like nervous and somehow cruel in criticizing us, but somehow we managed to work, because, as I said, the studios have been open. But we filmmakers, also the crews, we have not been employed. We worked as artists, you see. Mm-hmm. And then happened in the whole socialistic bloc one very big earthquake when the Soviet Union occupied Czechoslovakia, you understand? And first, the whole country was, our country was preparing for the war, because our country was against Stalinism even after the Second World War, you see, and we just stopped communication, and we have been the only socialistic country with the open borders to the West, you see. Yeah. But somehow, some sort of, I would say, maybe conferences between our leaders and Soviet, came to the decision, let's put these provocative things completely away. And they did it on very simple thing. As we have been not employed, they simply did not give us any project. So 6, 7 of us simple did not know how to survive. So, for instance, Makavev, he went in France, then America to make WR. Alexander Petrovich, he went also abroad, maybe in Spain and so on, the Rika Pavlovic and the others. And I thought, look, maybe it's good to try to find something small in Germany, especially because some of the German critics have been very welcome with my short films shown on German festivals. But luckily, something happens what I did not expect. So we have been around Köln because of Oberhausen and around Essen, and then we have heard by some filmmakers whom I know, like for instance, Herr Kluge and so on. Kluge says, we are all now going in Bavaria, because in Bavaria we will have better possibility to work. And why don't you come also to Bavaria and so on? And of course, all of them treated me as a friend, as I had these prizes and they saw the films and so on and so on.
So you landed in Munich.
When Kluge asked me, do you have any paper, do you have any project? I said, look, I came here only to make film on the Gastarbeiter because I am one of them. And as you said, I start making in 2 or 3 years 10 documentaries. But the system in your country in that time was very stimulative. You see, beside this, the distributors are buying the films to be like before the long film, but in the same time there was one commission which was called Bewertungsstelle, where a good film critic, they would give actually the marks. If the film is besonders wertvoll, then the producer got as a support like 25,000 euros, not euros, German marks, so he can make another one. So it was like excellent atmosphere, and as we have been working here with all those friends, I was surprised how actually all the people in Filmverlag, their Autoren, have been completely open, giving us the editing tables. Sometimes if we need the good cinematographer or Tonmeister and so on. But then, of course, what happens with me, just to finish my German excursion. So with one very good friend of mine who was a student here and who is a cameraman, I made most of the film. His name is Andrej Popovic, and he spoke excellent German, so of course that was much easier than for the group. But what happens? When we made a long film, which is called Paradies, eine imperialistische Tragikomödie, then we have had actually visit by the police. Yeah. So I can tell you what happened then.
Okay, but before we go there, maybe let's talk about a bit on Inventory, because we watched the film now. I know that Inventory is also not the first film that you did here in Germany. I mean, it's let's say a bit more later work. But for me, it will be very much, I think for all of us, will be interesting to know how did you come across METZSTRASSE and this house, and then you decided, okay, this should be the subject of my film. And because the film on one side is it's very spontaneous. I mean, it's incredibly spontaneous, but also you can see it's somehow very structured as well. So how did you convince the inhabitants of this house also to participate to your project? Could you please, I mean, tell us a bit more about the process? Did you rehearse something? Did you make many takes? It's about the one-shot thing. I think it's not, but yeah, please tell us about it.
Yeah, I will be very happy to speak about that, because I mean, for young people, they should not be naive that they think, look, Žilnik was thinking, and then he saw this picture of the people going down the stairs and so on, and he asked them, no, what happened? In that time, actually, this Munich Underground Railway was just finishing, you see, and I have heard, walking through Sonnenstrasse, I have heard actually some of people, workers, shouting in our language. So then I shout to them, comrades, I'm having here camera and crew, can we come down and see these marvelous things, what you do? You are making the railway under the ground. And they say, look, it is impossible because we are under the strict observation and everything is very dangerous and so on. And they said, look, we are living, a group of us here now, we are living in METZSTRASSE, where are all buildings. Now METZSTRASSE looks completely elegant and everything. All buildings were actually the apartments are cheap, and you come after 5 o'clock and maybe bring something for drink, and then we will make interviews. So when that day I came in this METZSTRASSE, first what I felt, what we have seen, that our people with whom we communicate on this Serbo-Croatian language, many of them start being frightened, like who knows, maybe he's from police, maybe he is going to, I don't know, reports that we don't have the right papers and so on. So out of these 12 people with whom I communicated underground, only 2 or 3 wanted to participate. And you see, I said then to other people who have been listening, these other foreigners, Turkish, Italian, and others, I said, look, I would like to just to film you how you are living in this place and how do you feel, and maybe you have some will or some need maybe to say something about your life, about your relatives and so on. In that time, for ordinary people to be filmed, that was something like, you know, coming the present of the God, you see, because who was filmed? Artists, you know, circusanten, politicians. So when they say, are we going to be filmed as we look like? Do we have to have a suit? I say, no. And you just, when you see the microphone, when you just pass down and see the microphone, you say whatever you like. Maybe something critical, maybe something about your family, maybe something about your working salaries, whatever you like. And you go down, and we prepared with this Yugoslavia before quite a lot of drinking and actually some good food, you see. So then we will sit and talk together. So we did it in only one shot. I was afraid to ask them to make a second because they said, look, but here is the food. Why you are just filming us all the time? Just give us the opportunity for sweets for the children and other. So they gathered, again, only small number of Yugoslavs around, and they had the fun, and they had the feeling that, first of all, you see, with this being in front of the camera, you will somehow have some sort of documents that you live here, and maybe some friends will see you. And they felt, because we did not give them any instructions what to say, what to do, how to go, whom to bring, you see. We said, that is yours. Camera is here. We are not intervening. Just cameraman push the buttons only once, you see. And around was a guy from this Filmverlag, Autoren, Edgar Reitz. He said, Želimir, you don't have contract cadre. Are you stupid? How you will finish your films? I said, put it just like as it is. So we made this 11-minute film, 11 minutes, just in 11 minutes.
So, okay, so you just had one roll of film. Wow, it's great. Yeah, I mean, I think this is also the strength of this film, this authenticity, you know, that is one shot, like going in a studio and record an album, you know, like it's I think this makes the film still very special. But I mean, as you know, in the last years, your film, Inventory is maybe one of the most well-known short films of yours, and it also has influenced a lot of different filmmakers and artists in their work. As we showed today, Kevin Jerome Everson. There's also Pınar Öğrenci's work that she did in Chemnitz in East Germany a couple of years ago, more dedicated to this, you know, some certain kind of critical view on the markets of the, you know, apartments there and the change what's happening. It was entitled like Inventories, I think. And you also show Inventory a lot in museum contexts or in exhibition contexts. I mean, not just only in film programs and festivals, but also how the film got perceived changed with the time. So how, I mean, what do you think about this one as being an influencer for some other artists, but also others on the other way, how the film is perceived also in this exhibition context, and in generally how these things are changed for you during the time, you know, coming from cinema, from documentary filmmaking?
Well, only thing what I can say, I'm surprised. I'm surprised when I see that someone is interested and someone is praising the film. And so I'm surprised because it is something so simple. It is something so, I would say, factual, but also naive, you see. Maybe that was the quality. But I always, you know, when I hear someone is very much interested, have you seen the film? You see it? Yeah, we know. It's very exciting. Well, what can we do? You never know, you know. You never know something what, when we finish, when we think it will be marvelous, but then it does not work. Something when you actually don't believe yourself in the film. So I would say we authors, we are all the time having some sort of feeling, look, maybe I did not tell enough stories and enough interesting stories and so on. So we do not understand that sometimes this film which is coming out modest and not like talking too much and giving explanations for everything, that comes in the mind of the viewers, even maybe more interesting, more intrigue. You see, so we are not objective when we are speaking about our films.
Yes. I think it's a good moment now to open up the discussion to the audience. So if you have any questions at the moment directly to Želimir, this is your chance. Here's one question, please. Please wait for a microphone, it's important. Yeah.
Did you ever show this movie to the inhabitants of the METZSTRASSE 11, and what did they say if you did so?
Did you show the film to the inhabitants of METZSTRASSE?
Oh yes.
And what was their reaction?
But you see, I did not leave the Germany maybe next, maybe 3-4 months, you see. So we went few times because we felt, this small crew of ours, we felt that those people are very relaxed in front of the camera. So we wanted to engage them in some long films which we have been filming, but they did not feel well when they understand that there will be also actors, you see. That is one thing. Second, you know, when we brought 2 or 3 actors, you see some of them did not approach those naive people on the right way. You said, you to be my partner, can you say this? Do you know what type of film we are going to? So I understand that was for those people something uncomfortable, you understand? But we stayed in contact in terms that actually we would come there, talk to them, you know, come with the chocolate with some of those young people who have been very much proud because, of course, that was also heard in the school that they have been acting in a film. But I did, with them, with this group, I didn't make anything afterward.
Okay. Any other questions? Here is a question.
First of all, thank you both for the beautiful conversation. And I was wondering, you, Želimir, stopped at one point and you created a moment of suspense when talking about your film Paradies. And you said the police came or something.
Good point.
There was this moment when you talked about the film Paradies.
You were telling us about Paradies, and then the police came up. So I need to interrupt you. So let's continue and finish this, you know, story, and maybe this end up also. You know, why did you leave West Germany again back to Yugoslavia?
So. Of course, the film was shown in the Werkstatt Kino, and it was very tense atmosphere because that was happening just in this moment when in your country, Germany, actually this the intellectual group became first critical, and then they start, you know, Baader-Meinhof. They start with actually assassination of the political figures, you understand? And this Paradies film is actually made by the material which was coming in the newspapers that one Berliner Abgeordnete, that was in time when East Germany was there, that he want to actually become the president of maybe that city or whatever. His name was Lawrence, and the police or maybe administration found that actually he was making fake fake capturing of him by some sort of post-hippie types who have been filming him, how he is under the pressure, how he's thirsty, whatever. And then this Lawrence on election got the most the votes, you understand? But then the politicians stopped him completely and put him in the jail. So when I read it, I already start reading German and understand German. But then I wrote this screenplay. It is not about him, but it is about one actually lady who is very cruel and who is from Africa and Asia buying the gold and diamond and whatever and so on and so on. But he was also then, like in the film, captured as someone who is making like misinformation. So somehow that films definitely communicate with this real situation that you have had in this country. You see, first of all, so these new capitalists and the politicians who are making manipulations. So the police came. Me and cameraman have been in METZSTRASSE. We have rented a big apartment and even filmed some films there. And police came about 11 o'clock, and they asked us to see the archive of the films. Who is engaged, how much did you pay, where the money came, and so on. And they have seen that we did not pay twice taxes. So for these main actors, which got 7,000 German marks, we did not give 2,500, these taxes. And then for renting one apartment, we also did not. And then police says, you made a crime. Now it's 11 o'clock. We have, you cameraman and you director, we have to arrest you. And they arrest us and brought us in Polizeipräsidium. And we didn't know what to do, but luckily this friend of mine lived in Germany. He said, we have rights to call a lawyer. And I called Alexander Kluge, you see.
As lawyer.
As I talked to him, I myself also have a law degree, so we spend a lot of time talking about these things. And I thought, so he said, Kluge says, are you drunk? I said, no, I'm not drunk. Did you hit someone? I said, I didn't hit someone. What is? I said, because of a paper of taxes we are putting, and he came at 1:30, 1:30. At 1:30, he came. He knocked, he said, are you okay? I will speak with the chief police. So he spoke only 15 minutes. They did not have a right to arrest us for this because we showed that we have prepared money to pay tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So he said, look, you see, the atmosphere in the whole society is very much ill and weird. And so, many people have been hit out of the jobs. I don't know, do you remember that? You are all young, so you don't know that. It was a hysteric moment in Western Germany, which luckily did not last long. And then he said to me and Andre, look, you are now free. I made arrangement that you will prepare your things and leave the Germany tomorrow until 9 o'clock, you see. And he said, don't worry, I will let you know in 2 or 3 weeks when you can come, because you didn't make any crime. So we really packed the things, and police car was just on the back of us, and we went to Austria. But why I didn't come? I mean, maybe if I would stay here, I would make maybe some German career, but I did not do it. Why? It happens in the city where I live. It's something very unusual. Novi Sad, one province, a city, they made their own television. And the best lecture which I have heard from German filmmakers is, for which television do you work together? I said, why television? We hate television. Television is only politics. You are idiot. Television is informing the whole population. That is first. Second, television in Germany has about, I don't know, 60 million or 50 million viewers. It has technique, it has material, it has the crews, you see, because the television has employed all those people. So you can much comfortable make your films if you have co-production with television. He said, all of us, you see, everybody, Werner Herzog, the Fassbinder. Fassbinder is doing nothing else but talking to politicians and filming to television people. So television was made in Novi Sad, and I knocked on the door and said, look, I would like now to make a television films. And as I was already having some practice and so on, so I stayed maybe next 2 or 3 days making one by one. We have had a 6 republic, so I was going from one television to another, making films, and I was very happy because all these stopping of my filming simply just fade away, you see. I mean,
Okay. I mean, I think you have a lot of stories to tell, so we can go maybe more hours, but we reached a moment that we had to stop now, right? So thank you very much, Želimir, that you came all the way from Novi Sad to Munich, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you also enjoy that, and thank you.